Well, it's really a pity, but I recorded this video just before with nice, Sunday lightning, but it was just missing really the storyline. And so I have to do this again. And what I learned from that is I'm just better in making these videos in the night. So you always have to see me in the night. I am curious how someone can take over the arm and break vibe or any other jungle vibe into MIDI drums. And by MIDI drums, I mean synthetic drums. And for that, I want to take Addictive Drums as an example and see how far I can get there with trying to using Ableton Live's convert drums to MIDI track function, which I never used so far. So I'm really curious how this works and if it adds something to my tracks. And I'm going to show you how this works out for me. What you see here is one of my latest tracks called Silence Theory, which came out on Omni Music a few weeks back. And I really love this track as well. Let me just show it to you for a second. Then you get the idea of the jungle Amen vibe I would love to take as a starting point. And if we solo just the Amen, what you see here is I just extracted the Amen break, and let me explain what is happening here. I have here my Amen sample, which is a drum loop obviously, and I have here my slice on an individual track, and I sliced this already to individual slices obviously. So the problem now is you could say, okay, let's take over these drums, right? Here's a kick, a snare, but on the other side I'm using some slices in between as well, like here's the hi-hat and a snare. Oh, sorry, cymbal and a snare. So yes, again here I could change these notes individually and send them to my drum sampler, but let's see how far I can really automate this thing with the convert to MIDI function of Ableton. But for that, I first have to bounce the track into an audio file and then convert this to an audio file and send then those notes to Addictive Drums. So that's what I'm doing now. But before I do that, I will do a backup because I'm going to remove all the glitch and grain beat repeat effects I have on top, so that this is not going into the MIDI notes, but instead I can add this again to the drums I'm adding later. So here I have the plain Amen. So here we are. The moment I was waiting for. Convert drums to new MIDI track. Let's check out what is happening. So while he's converting, I'm curious whether he really sees all the notes like the crash, the cut crash or cymbal. And unfortunately you see it's like Pareto, it's like 80% he is done but not 100%. I could now say, okay, I'm adding those MIDI notes, but just for the sake of the example I don't do this. But I hope I have this vibe from the original sample in there. So listen to this. So what Ableton is doing is it was producing this MIDI track and adding a sample drum machine to it. And now I want to map this to an Addictive Drums instance and see how this sounds like. So let's add Addictive Drums. Just the first kit. Close that and I copy that to my Addictive Drums and see how this sounds. Okay, first problem is kick is fine, snare as well, but it's not the right cymbal. It's closed hi-hat, right? So instead of me shifting these notes up, I could do so. It would be pretty simple. I want to show you another technique. Here I have my F#1, which is in the MIDI track, and I try to keep this as the source because you might redo this a lot of times, or you might have different clips and then you have to edit everything. But no, that's not what I am doing. I am adding here how's this called, MIDI effect, a scale effect, and I know I want to scale from F#1 to C2. So the way how this is working here, I have my, I think it's not really a nice overview, but if I just play it, you see what is happening here. So here, this is the note I want to shift up, and F# to C2 is how many steps? Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. Okay, so I'm going to shift this F# by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now this specific MIDI note should be mapped to Addictive Drums closed hi-hat. So let's mess around a little bit with Addictive Drums and see what you can get from this plugin. And however, I have to say I'm not really skilled in Addictive Drums, and I still have to do that. It's really a shame because I really believe I can get a lot out of this plugin. So, but let's see what we can do. I really like this. Let me take a second and pimp the kick drum the way I like it. For whatever reason here, I have more velocity in the beginning than afterwards. I mean, right now it sounds like a problem, but I see this more as an opportunity to add even more variation to the track, like to the main parts, etc. But just for the sake of the example, I don't do this right now. You get the idea. But what I want to do now is really adding my effect chain again. So before adding all these repeat and glitch effects, let me drive the track a little bit. Now the cool thing is I can always combine it with the original sample, right? So let us check how this sounds like. But let's focus more on Addictive Drums, see what this can offer. I really like the Fairfax Volume 1 C. Cool. And finally add my glitch stuff. I believe really amazing. Again, you don't get 100% of the groove or the notes as a MIDI note, and you really have to redo some things if you really are into the details. That I think, of course, is important. But at least you get the vibe from the original loop, right? And then you can extend your original loop with synthetic drums and all the variations and all the tools we have with MIDI tracks and so on. And I really believe I will take this over for my future drum beat programming tool chain box of weapons of mass creation. And I love this. That's really cool. I hope you could learn something today. Again, for me, this was new. I'm not an expert on this, but I really like this feature. And I just want to extend your idea how you can do some jungle tracks and some interesting atmospheric drum and bass. So hope you like it. Let me know what you think of that. Also let me know if there's something you can do easier or maybe in a better or professional, more professional way or so. Just let me know and leave a comment, please, and talk to you soon.